Okay, the bells of Ahihik are just winding down. Oh boy, good to see all of you. Wow, this last dive into judgment that some of you were present to or not, doesn't matter. It was all for me. It's still reverberating. And so I think what I'd like to start off with today is to just repeat in a little bit of a different fashion this idea. So the horizontal world that we believe is true lives on one side of the coin, and it is a world of perception. So everything that comes in through sight, sound, taste is what we believe is the real world. On the other side of this coin, because really what Jesus is asking us in A Course in Miracles, this is all Jesus is really asking of us, is to see everything differently. Everything, not just some, everything. And that's on the other side of the perceptual coin. So we come into the world, they slap us on our behind and say, it's a girl, it's a boy. And then a whole life rolls out ahead of us. And that's our script. We all have different scripts, doesn't matter. The healing is the same. So flipping our thinking from this projection to the other side, which is to see everything through truth, where sin is impossible, either in us or anyone else. That's truth. Some call it love, but let's get real honest. It means there's no judgment when we're seeing everything through the truth. Now, and this came up yesterday. I'm going to get around to it in a little way. So switching from perceptual thinking to truth, the access to that is accepting the atonement. And another way of putting that is to observe when we're judging and stop. I want to laugh because it sounds so simple, and it is simple. It is simple. That's what I really want to say. It's really to just see when we're judging and ask for help to see it differently with Holy Spirit or God or love or Buddha, whoever you want to see it differently with. But we all have a comforter or a guide to help us with this transition. And it's ours to take it on. It's also ours to ignore. And I ignored for probably about 57 years. I don't recommend it. It was painful. It caused great amounts of suffering. And I just don't recommend it. The sooner you get that your only job here is to accept the atonement and then do it, the faster this switch will happen from seeing through the perceptual to seeing only through truth. Oh, and I just encourage everyone to really dig deep on this. There was a woman that happened to have a short chat with yesterday. And I can't remember how we got around to it, but in my world, every conversation comes back to mind training. That's just because that's where I'm at. And she said something, and I don't remember how it got to this, but she said, oh, I don't really have a whole lot of judgments. And then she says, I am a pessimist, though. Well, if you're a pessimist, you judge everything. And so there's a lot of stuff to accept the atonement on. And I didn't say it to her like that, because I'm still into people pleasing mode, which we're going to get to here shortly. But I said something to the effect of, well, in order to see everything pessimistically, you're seeing things that don't make you happy. And I mean, it was the slowest part of the conversation, because I could see she was trying to make sense of it, and it made no sense to her, but she was attempting to make sense of it. And I just let it go. And then someone came over, changed the conversation, and I quietly walked away. But what I got was, we all have, oh God, I was this way. I mean, quite frankly, before I got the cancer, and what I'm grateful for the cancer for, was to just see how much resignation I had. Just guess what? Resignation is also seeing error in everything. And I was deeply resigned. And I really say that's why I decided to create cancer. It's like, if you have someone that's that deeply resigned, oh my God, do away with yourself. It'd be far quicker. Just get it over with. Get terminal cancer. Okay, fine. And then I had this great idea. I think I'm going to try mind training. And everything shifted around. I mean, everything shifted around. And I remember resignation, and I wouldn't have said it was depression, but it was probably even deeper than the deepest depression. I was resigned to man's inhumanity to man. Okay, that's pretty depressing. You can't go much lower than that without offing yourself, which I tried to do quite a bit too, I might say. But anyway, once I got into this mind training, it was like I had a different place to take all this stuff. Instead of just giving up and getting sick and dying, which is kind of the way I was going very quickly, it was like, oh, accept the atonement for myself, attempt to see all this differently. And now with, some degree of hindsight that is never helpful usual, but this, I was totally sucked into the perceptual world, seeing everything through perception. There were bodies. Some bodies were good bodies, some bodies were bad bodies. And I mean, I had judgments at the wazoo about everything in the perceptual world. And then I had this mind that says, I know how to do it right, which is a whole nother layer of I know mind that has to be done away with, and humility that had to come in. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that had to come in to alter my way of thinking. But now, since I'm at this point where, oh man, I am the only one that can cause me any kind of suffering is me. And that came up in this conversation with the woman also. She was saying, I'm pessimistic about everything. And she says, and I've got more important things to focus on. My body has pain and I'm seeing doc. And I was just like, oh my God, yeah, I get where this woman is thinking from. And now it's like, not only am I not resigned about anything, I'm actually quite excited about seeing everyone with a loving eye. And that doesn't mean the mind training is any less. And I was talking with one of us earlier today about how the cancer was probably some of the easier stuff to deal with. I don't want to discourage any of you. The cancer was actually quite easy because it was so in my face, and it was clear I was out of here. And, okay, I'll try mind training. How do I even go about it? But that was easier than this piece that I'm working on now, which is deep and subtle people pleasing. Ooh, ooh, it's tricky. It's tricky and it's subtle. And that's why the cancer was easier. Cancer wasn't subtle. It was in my face. It was a slap in the face. I couldn't avoid it. Every doctor was telling me, there's nothing we can do for you. You need to go into hospice. So it was clear, the universe was just kind of slapping me around. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try this a different way. Now I'm dealing with this people pleasing, and it is subtle. And it comes completely out of left field. And if you're not fast on the draw, it'll race by you before you even see that that's happening. So yesterday, someone that I dearly love, and she said something, and this is how I catch people pleasing. She said something, and it landed like, I was telling this friend earlier, it's kind of like getting hit by a bus, but there are no buses present and there's no blood. But my mind is just like, ugh. And she said, Calico, you've got to get more fun in your life. Okay, that's all she said. Not a bad thing. Okay, but it landed like getting hit by a bus. And it was kind of like, and what was there was this quick thought that went with the bus. I'm doing something wrong. That's all it is. I'm doing something wrong. And so I really sat with it. And at this point, in dealing with the people pleasing, and given that she's a dear friend that I love dearly, I thought, I really need to honor this and say something. And she's someone that does mind training. And I thought, if there's anyone that I could say this to, it would be her. And it's not like making her wrong. It's like me just expressing, instead of just accepting it. Oh, I need to have more fun in my life, which makes me laugh somehow. I need to just say something, because she's assuming I don't have fun in my life. And the reality is, my life is happier than it's ever been. Now, we have different definitions of happy and fun, but I just needed to say something and just say, I so appreciate you in my life and love you dearly. And something occurred in our conversation that landed as off for me. And in my world, where I'm at right now, someone telling me that I need to have more fun in my life allows me to make some serious judgments on my mind training. Like, oh, you must be doing something wrong because you need more fun in your life. That's where it took me. And it was a bad neighborhood for me. That's all I can say. It reverberated. And I just said, I love my life probably more than I have ever loved my life before. For what, I'm not sure, but with this shift in thinking. And I just need to let you know that I'm really not needing fun in my life in the traditional ways that people see fun. Fun for me is, having gone through last week, the week of shame, guilt, and hell, and then popping through, it's like I was stuck underwater for about 4 days. And it was that first breath as you're coming up to the surface and you take in a deep breath. And there can be nothing more fun than that. And that's where I find myself these days, dealing with mind and mind training. The other thing I was sharing with this friend of mine, another friend of mine. Anyway, I was sharing with myself. You know, getting out of hospice. Okay, I'm just gonna take it back into the parable a bit. Getting out of hospice was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Believe me, it was so difficult to get out of hospice. It was not easy, particularly by using my mind and not really getting that my mind got me there. And so at this point, dealing with cancer is a cakewalk. Really. Dealing with these subtleties of people pleasing is humbling on a regular basis. Humbling, like on my knees in prayer kind of humbling. And all I can say is it's totally worth the effort. Completely worth the effort. There's nothing I have done that have had any value for me or has been as joyful a process most of the time as working with my mind. And when I'm in the deepest depths of what the fuck, and then popping through the surface and grabbing this new breath, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. It just doesn't get better than that. And so I guess I wanted this to be a conversation about popping through, you know, maybe an altar session on putting on the altar. And just for realizing, I think I recorded this. I can't remember if I hit the yeah, it's recording. Okay. The second half of this is where we do a private thing. And it's basically because I want everyone to feel completely free to participate in whatever way they do. And this altar session, if you can just allow yourself to be in this moment and see what blocks you. Just what's blocking you. And then to immediately ask Holy Spirit to assist you with I mean, this is where, you know, that line of it's like pulling a camel through the eye of a needle. This is it. You're in perceptual land. You're on your camel on one side of the needle. And Holy Spirit is the only one that's going to be able to drag you through that eye of the needle to see it differently. And there's a whole nother world on the other side of the eye of the needle that you can come to if you're willing. Oh, if you're willing, that's really all it is. And so, you know, really to use these Zoom sessions as realizing you and your camel are locked out of heaven and you want to be on the other side. And so what is it going to take besides prayer? And that's all it takes is prayer, really. That's the answer to my own question. It's like to allow yourself to really get threaded through. And then once you do this several times, and that's why I'm so grateful to cancer, I had a lot of opportunities. Oh my God, I had so many opportunities on this one. You know, seeing I was on, you know, my camel called cancer and going, damn, I really want to see this whole thing differently. And now I'm on my camel called heaven. And it's like, and it's a whole different ride. It's a whole different world. And it is like having the eyes of Holy Spirit. And I don't know, bliss. It's bliss. That's it. It's bliss. And those days of sickness and death and pain and chaos, drama, can't get me on this side of the needle. And the only time I can get back on the other side in perceptual thinking is when I lose my vigilance. And I'm not aware of those subtle things that race across my screen, even though I feel like I've been hit by a bus. I go, well, no bus, no blood. I'm here. I can ignore it. It's like, no, don't ignore it. That kind of sensation that's happening is exactly what I need to grab onto, going, whoa, 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 wait a second. The camel just slipped back on the other side of this needle, and we're going back the other direction. And go through the process of accepting the atonement once again. Okay. I think that's complete. So for now, we're going to say goodbye, all you YouTubers.